Will Israeli troops leave by Sunday, or has a delay been asked for? Do you know?
It looks like a delay has been asked for, and I think it's quite reasonable given the circumstances. We've been here before. Your listeners may remember in 2006, Hezbollah started a war against Israel. It lasted for 34 days. Hezbollah fired 4,000 rockets into Israel, and that war back in 2006 ended with the UN Security Council resolution called 1701. And that resolution called on the Lebanese army to disarm Hezbollah. The UN forces in Lebanon were supposed to help the Lebanese army do its job, and the Lebanese army did nothing. The UN forces did nothing. Hezbollah rearmed. It grew stronger than ever. So the government of Lebanon failed. The UN failed. Diplomacy failed. And we reached a situation where on October 8th of 2023, one day after the October 7th massacre of Hamas, Hezbollah opened a second front. It fired thousands of rockets, anti-tank missiles, suicide drones into Israel. It forced 60,000 residents of northern Israel to flee their homes because Hezbollah is shooting at them. And now we've reached a point where there's another ceasefire agreement. Again, it is a ceasefire that requires Hezbollah to disarm. So if Hezbollah is armed, it's a violation of the ceasefire deal. The Lebanese army is supposed to take the place of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and take responsibility for all of Lebanon. Now, that hasn't happened yet. And I think we should give a little bit more time for it to happen, for the Lebanese government to say that it's going to take responsibility for all of Lebanon, that there will be no armed militias that don't take orders from the government of Lebanon, but instead take orders from Iran. I think that will be better for all of us. And ultimately, we need peace. We need peace between Israel and Lebanon, not a piece of paper.
But as I understand it, as I read at least, there's pretty strong US pressure right now for Israel to get that withdrawal done on time. So that analysis that you've laid out doesn't seem to be convincing anyone, including one of the key drivers behind diplomatic efforts to bring peace to the Middle East.
I think there's a lot of quiet diplomacy taking place right now, even in Lebanon. It's not likely that you're going to have a Lebanese official stand up in public and say that if the Israeli military completely leaves southern Lebanon, that there's going to be this power vacuum that will be filled again by Hezbollah. That would be an unpopular thing to say publicly in Lebanon. But I think there are people in Lebanon who understand the situation, that Lebanon has a new government, it has a new president, it has a new prime minister, needs a little bit more time to take control of all of Lebanon. Even this past week, the Israeli military has been on patrols in southern Lebanon and continues to find rockets, anti-tank missiles, AK-47s. These are weapons that are meant to be used against Israel. Right? The ultimate goal of Hezbollah is to destroy Israel. I don't see Israel as sitting back and waiting for Hezbollah to regroup and rearm. So I'm hoping that Israel will be able to withdraw from Lebanon as soon as possible, be behind the border, and that there will be peace between Israel and Lebanon. But ultimately, a vacuum can be filled by the same terrorist army that chose to start a war more than a year ago.
I was reading an interview given by a mayor of a Lebanese border town who said that before the ceasefire, 35% of his town was destroyed. After the truce, 90% of it. The Israeli army essentially went in and blew up houses. What is happening in southern Lebanon is seen by many Lebanese as punitive action by the Israelis. And I wonder how you would respond to that.
I think it's quite the opposite. I would call the Israeli activities in southern Lebanon common sense. We've seen the videos coming out of southern Lebanon that show the enormous strength of Hezbollah before Hezbollah started a war and its positions that remain. We're talking about vast network of underground tunnels that allow Hezbollah fighters to move undetected near the Israeli border area. Hezbollah had actually planned a massacre much greater than what Hamas carried out on October 7th. Hezbollah had plans, it had prepared to invade Israel, to take hostages, to take over villages. And it's the very villages in southern Lebanon where Hezbollah was based that were the basis of these operations. Hezbollah based itself in the villages, used the villages as forward positions, and the Israeli army went in order to dismantle these Hezbollah positions, which I think was a very reasonable thing to do, given the fact that Hezbollah's stated goal is the destruction of Israel. Israel is not going to sit back and wait for itself to be destroyed. The agreement between Israel and Lebanon requires Hezbollah to disarm, and as long as Hezbollah is not going to do that, it's a violation of the deal.